In a castle in the mountains of Transylvania, the undead slumber and long to drink the blood of the living. When the unwitting Renfield stumbles into the castle of the infamous Count, he becomes the Count's servant. When the Count travels to England, all hell breaks loose as the evil undead monster matches wits with Professor Van Helsing in the original 1931 Universal horror classic, Dracula. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
I'm Caleb Boucher.
And this is Filmgazm. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Filmgazm podcast. Today's pick is Caleb's pick of the cycle. It's been a long time since we covered a Universal classic. Back in the early days of the show, I did a solo episode on the Wolfman. That's it. Until now, you've yet to go back to this well. Nearly 200 episodes. And this is just shows the breadth of, the scope of films we're talking about here. It literally is like dawn to dusk, It's awesome. So what made you pick Dracula?
I've always been a sucker for the Universal monster films. I have like the big ass 30 film Blu-ray set that includes like all of them plus like their sequels and everything. And then randomly, I think it's the 40s Phantom of the Opera that's in that set. I need to check out ways to get my hands on the silent film. I think it's on. I think Kino Classics did it. I know they did a bunch of stuff like Nosferatu and Kevin and Dr. Caligari. They put on Blu-ray. I'm going to pick up those. But I've always been a sucker for these films. All of them. I love all of them. Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, The Mummy, Invisible Man is actually probably my personal favorite because of Claude Rains' incredibly unhinged performance and the fact that it gets fucking dark. Like, I remember watching that, I was like really shocked how far that film was willing to go for its time.
He's got the highest body count because of that train crash.
Yeah, it's really, like, I remember watching going, they really okayed this film, like damn. But when I was like, what, let's do this, let's do Universal Monster. And I was like, all right, but which one? And I thought, if we're going to do this, let's do it right, and let's do the one that like kickstarted it, that really put this on the map, which would be Dracula's first one they released. I'm a big fan of it. I do think a lot of the films that came out after are a lot better, and I enjoy them more. But because I know you're not as into this one. This is kind of like your take of like, I mean, it happens to me, right? There's plenty of classic films of cinema that I don't like as much as everyone else. I know that's this case with you here, but I really enjoy this film. I really like, there's a lot of elements I like about it, and just like I said, something that always bugs me is the people that like, oh, I can't watch these films, they're too corny. No, you can't place yourself in the time it came out. Like, you can't take out your modern day view set and watch this film. I can sit there and watch and just go like marvel, like how these films were made, what they did to get this kind of stuff accomplished back then, and like how a lot of this laid the groundwork for things we have now.
That's good. That's the mind of a true film buff, and you need that to do like this show, really. I didn't realize that the 20s Phantom of the Opera was a hard get. I have that in my Universal Monsters collection.
Oh, no. Are you sure it's not the 40s?
It's Lon Chaney Sr. It's the original.
Positive about that?
I was. Give me a second.
I was like, you might want to be positive about that there, buddy.
Okay. Returning. Have it in my set. I've got the basic collection that has all the franchise starters. Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Invisible Man, Mummy, Phantom, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Bride of Frankenstein. So, not the big one that you've got. Well, shit. Claude Rains, huh?
Yep.
I thought I had the Lon Chaney Jr. one, or Lon Chaney Sr. one.
If it's in that set, it's the Claude Rains one. The other one's not hard to get. I just need to see if Kino Classics, they're a subsidiary of Kino Lorber. They put a lot of the silent films out that they could get their hands on. That we haven't lost the time, and they may have put 8 out. Like I said, I know they did Nosferatu, they did Cabinet Dr. Caligari, which is a personal favorite. silent horror film. I fucking love that movie. I need to see if they did the same thing with Phantom. Just make a big purchase on all three one day.
Yeah, I am very glad those films have been preserved. I mean, this year is the 100th anniversary of Nosferatu. That's pretty insane. You also mentioned that these films also tend to go pretty far for 1930s cinema, and a big reason for that is a lot of these are pre-Hays Code. So the rules hadn't been established yet. When Dracula came out, film had only really been around for like 15 years, which is crazy to think about. That people back then just had never seen anything like Dracula. This was, the first time, not the first appearance of Dracula on the big screen, but definitely the most iconic, the one that has become more associated with, people's perception of Dracula. When you think of Dracula, you immediately think of Bela Lugosi. It's been that way since this film came out.
It's an iconic performance that I would say the only person that's gotten close to matching it, and in some case, for some people, may have bettered it, and I totally get it and won't take that argument away from them, is Christopher Lee with the Hammer films. He's the only person that's ever gotten close, if not from some people's opinion, better. And again, I won't argue that stance at all. Since Bela Lugosi, and I don't think anyone's ever even gotten near those two.
I've seen Lee's debut film, Horror of Dracula. I've seen that one, but I have not seen the sequels. He did like eight Dracula movies. So I definitely want to watch more of his performance because he is great as Dracula. I bought the Frank Langella Dracula from the 70s at Goodwill, and I've been meaning to check that out. But every 10, 15 years, we get another attempt at Dracula, and it never quite captures what Lugosi was able to do with the character.
Yeah,
it always feels like an imitation.
Yeah. Well, because I'm personally a really big fan of Lugosi's take, and it definitely, for me, it started everything we know. He laid the groundwork for what we expect out of our cinematic Dracula. They did do, they did do a recent adaptation of this, a BBC show called Dracula. It was like 3 episodes. I watched that, and I remember thinking like, ooh, okay. The first episode was thinking like, this could be really good. Because the first episode was really good. But then, because the first episode took place at the castle of Renfrew and everything there. Second episode was entirely the boat. So I was like, okay, so third episode they're going to be in London, right? Third episode, yeah, but it like trumps ahead to the modern day. And it has this weird fucking ending about him being tied symbiotically with it. It's just a weird ending. And I was like, and you dropped it. It's like you had a great first 2 episodes and you dropped the ball in the third episode.
I definitely want to explore more film iterations of Dracula towards the end of the show. But I think segueing into kind of the background of Dracula is a good way for me to kind of express my biggest issue with this film and every depiction of Dracula I've seen in cinema. Dracula is arguably the most famous movie monster of all time. I think that's a fair bet, right?
Yeah, you could argue, the most famous, if not definitely top 5. I mean, I think they actually said we've had more adaptations of Dracula than any other movie monster.
It makes sense. I believe that. It's based on the insanely popular 1897 novel by Bram Stoker. The book was then adapted to the Broadway stage in 1924 with Hungarian actor Bela Lugosi starring as Count Dracula. When the play was adapted to film, Lugosi came with it. Have you read Dracula?
I have not. I've been meaning to read it.
I read it for a class. I took a Victorian literature class in my undergrad, and I had to read Dracula. And spoiler alert, it's one of the few times in my college career I've actually read the book. English degree. And Dracula is a phenomenal book that has never been correctly adapted. They always fuck it up somehow. They're always trying to make romanticize Dracula, turn him into this long, this lovelorn lost soul. In the book, he is a straight up savage. There is no lust for a long lost love. He wants nothing to do with Mina beyond ripping her apart. All he wants to do is kill and make more vampires. And I don't know why they've never just gone straight to psycho evil Dracula in a movie, because that's what Bram Stoker wrote.
That's what they did with the BBC adaptation, but then again, they butchered it with that third episode.
There you go.
But the first two episodes, he was unhinged, like didn't give a shit. He just wanted to kill, make more vampires. There was like a whole scene where he's in his wolf mode and he transforms in front of the fucking nuns to freak them out, and like literally comes out of like breaks out of the wolf body into his own. He's like butt naked, bloody, like it's fucking freaky, and just looks at them with a smirk, like, you see that shit? Let me in. I want to fuck all of you up.
Shit, I gotta check out this BBC show. That's pretty badass. But even, Lugosi's Dracula is pretty close to book Dracula. There's this element of just absolute horror to the character. He's pretty one-dimensional because all he wants to do is kill, but that's Dracula. But then the side characters, Mina is Dr. Seward's daughter. Harker's barely in the movie. Renfield and Harker are kind of combined. The ending is pretty anticlimactic. It's just, I want to see the book. Even like, the 92 one, Gary Oldman, they put this whole subplot of him being in love with Mina because she looks like his once, great love. That's horseshit. I don't want, romance Dracula. I want, like you said, turn it into a wolf to fuck it with some nuns. I want to see that Dracula. So, maybe one day, maybe this is, maybe Nicolas Cage will be this Dracula.
No, Nicolas Cage will be comedic. It's that means it's supposed to be comedic, and I don't want anything else.
He's gonna be vampire pimp Dracula for sure. Just in that costume.
Based off those images they released, you know what? Bring it on. Give it to me, Cage. Give it to me.
Well, I know that Karen Kusama was supposed to direct a Dracula film for the Universal universe that the Invisible Man established. So hopefully that still happens.
Yeah. Sorry. I was thinking Dark Universe. I'm sure it will. And I know, like, obviously the only reason we kind of got delayed on all the goodies that was going to be this upcoming Universal revival is because of the pandemic. Hopefully things are kind of back on track there. Blumhouse been kind of keeping quiet. But they do that a lot. They don't necessarily go out and try to really do that with their films. They try to let their filmmakers do their thing, leave them alone. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Blumhouse finds a way to go more with the book adaptation, or find a way to modernize it, because I'm sure they will, kind of like how they did with Invisible Man.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that's the closest we'll get. I get where you're coming from. At the same time, like, it doesn't bother me so much in this original version. Because yes, I do. I mean, at the end of the day, like, Lugosi, I know some people can watch and be like, again, people that just cannot place themselves in that time. Yeah. Well, he's not that scary. I was like, yeah, but for 1931, he was terrifying.
Well, like, I'll also give you, there's creepy ass moments in this movie. And honestly, I more than anything, I blame Sesame Street for why people don't find Lugosi's Dracula that scary anymore. It's the fucking Count. That voice is not scary anymore. It's become a joke. Fucking Count Chocula is what people think of now. It's sad. But in 31, this was a real monster. He's a sadist. He's the way he walks, the way he holds himself, the way he looks at people. That's a monster. That's not a human being. And you can see that. He's the saving grace. Like, I'm not going to shit on Lugosi's Dracula. Absolutely not. I just think the film is a little dull. But again, they're still figuring film out. So that's going to happen.
And I will say this, I will give you this. The film's very oddly structured. And something I think is why I say, like, gets fixed big time with, like, future Universal films like Frankenstein and The Mummy. I think they figured out a better structure to get those films kind of moving better. So, like, I get it with Dracula. Like I said, this is definitely one of those things where, like, I probably forgive it a lot more because of its place in cinema and just, like, my love. Like, just very passionate love for the Universal classics. Probably mass things that I see where I'm like, no, it's fine. So we're out if it's time, Yeah, that's on me. I can see that.
I get that. There's nothing wrong with that. If anything, you're more tuned in to legacy than I am, I guess, when it comes to this stuff. My personal favorite of the original Universal lineup is the Wolfman. I think that movie is almost flawless. I think it's
Wolfman's phenomenal film.
a wonderful movie. Lon Chaney Jr. is so just sad. Just this, he's there to like for his brother's estate. He gets bit by a wolf. It's out of his control. He doesn't want to be this monster. He plays that so well. And the monster is genuinely scary, even though he is strangling people, which is kind of weird. But it's 1941. What are you gonna do? But yeah, I think that's my favorite one. I still have not seen Creature from the Black Lagoon, so I can't speak for that.
Yeah, I still need to watch that too. It's in the set, so
yeah, it's in my set too, and I'm sure of that this time. I really didn't know that. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I was like, no, it's the Universal Monsters, and that fandom's not part of that.
That's a shame.
Yeah,
well, I'm sure this 40s one is good too. I mean, I'll watch that at some point.
It's Claude Rains, and if it's anything like his performance in Invisible Man, yeah,
I'm continuously wowed by the special effects in The Invisible Man. That was 1933. How the hell did they pull that off and have it still look good?
There's a lot of special effects in like that in the Wolfman realm. Like, how they pull this off and how does it still look so good?
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm glad that you convinced me to watch that Boris Karloff documentary on Shudder, because I got to see some insight into the production of Frankenstein, which was really cool. I love that they just stumbled onto Karloff. They're like, we need a giant, weird-looking guy with a square head. Where are we going to find him? Turns out he's already there. Just walking around the commissary waiting for somebody to notice him.
I would love like someone asked that and they turn around and they're like, oh hey, would you look at that right over there?
He's the guy getting coffee orders. Like, is that going to be with cream or sugar? Like, wait a minute. You're perfect.
You want to be a star?
I feel like that's a scary question in Hollywood these days. Do you want to be a star?
Dude, that or being a comedian. I would not want to be a comedian nowadays. Dear fucking God.
I know. You can get bitch slapped on live television.
Right? And then it becomes a big discourse online. Oh God. No, what's cool when I watched that documentary on Karloff, like how I knew like first I already knew like that scene with the kid in Frankenstein was incredibly controversial. The fact that like they put that in the film, I was like, holy shit, for like 1931. I did not realize like how against it Karloff was, like when they were talking about that, like how he really fought to not have it in there. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but I also understand why they wanted that scene in, because it tells you a lot about the monster in that scene.
I thought it was pretty fucked up how James Whale like got back at him for standing up to the director like later on in the production.
Oh yeah.
That was weird.
Like God bless your actor just actually wants to collaborate and be like, hey, I think this is why we shouldn't do it.
You ever seen the movie Gods and Monsters?
No.
It's a biopic of James Whale. Like during and after the production of Frankenstein, because he was openly gay. I don't know if you knew that.
Mm-hmm. I knew that. Yeah.
Ian McKellen plays James Whale, and he got an Oscar nomination for it in '98. I've always wanted to see this movie. Brendan Fraser's in it.
Hey.
Yeah.
Fraser, my dog.
I've always wanted to see that. Have you seen Ed Wood?
No, but that's been on my list of things to see. I've been really wanting to see that movie.
That movie is so interesting in the way it portrays Lugosi, because it's Lugosi at the end of his life, when he's kind of been abandoned by Hollywood, because he was they saw him as a one-trick pony. It's like you're Dracula, and if you don't want to play Dracula, you can fuck off. We got Karloff now. And Ed Wood, the proclaimed worst director of all time, found Lugosi and gave him work. And Lugosi got to make movies. They weren't great movies, but he got to do something. And Martin Landau plays Lugosi, and he is phenomenal. Like, uncanny, amazing performance. Won an Oscar for it, well deserved. But I recommend checking out Ed Wood, because it's just such a weird little story. Just Ed Wood's tale of like the people he brought together to make Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah.
Crazy. It might be Tim Burton's masterpiece.
That's what I hear from a lot of people. It is like, if you were to like, I always implore people when it comes to like these people like Lon Chaney, senior and junior. I would say especially junior, if you want to keep within the Universal monster realm. Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi, like looking at their careers, like, you always hear about like actors don't be typecast, now. But you know what? Now, if you get typecast, you get work still. And if you don't get typecast, you still get work. I was like, back then though, like I didn't point anyone look into their histories. Like Karloff got really lucky a lot of the times, was able to keep going in some capacity. Lugosi, that poor guy, after this, he just got shafted because, like you said, he was adamant about like, I want to do other stuff, not just play Dracula. And they're like, well, we want you to play Dracula.
Yep. I mean, Lugosi turned down Frankenstein because he thought the role of the monster was beneath him. He thought it was, this lumbering oaf of a creature, and he's this great Hungarian stage actor. Why would I play an oaf like the monster? And, kind of shot himself in the foot because Karloff got that role, became a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And started taking roles from Lugosi inadvertently. I mean, the movie Ed Wood plays up their beef a little bit more than it was. I don't think it was that serious. I mean, they co-starred in a lot of films together. In the movie, there's a scene in Ed Wood where some guy's asking Lugosi for an autograph, and he says, like, I love doing that picture with Karloff. And he goes, Karloff, fuck you, and like throws the pen at him. It's like it starts freaking out. So I don't think it was that serious.
I think the studio forced them to do a lot of movies together.
Yeah, definitely. That's also the thing. Back then, as an actor, you did not call the shots. The studio told you where you were going to work.
Yeah.
And you signed a contract with MGM or with Universal or RKO, and they owned your ass. It's a crazy way of making films. Like, we don't think, I'd argue these days the actors call the shots if you're big enough.
Yeah, as we kind of saw the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. Back then, it was, Louis B. Mayer or David O. Selznick who's going to bitch slap the comedian on the stage and get away with it.
Yeah. Or at this point, well, not at this point of Dracula, but later on, Carl Limley, you could argue because of what he did with these Universal monsters and what he did for Universal with this, like he fucking gave them so much money.
Yeah. And also, let's talk for just a minute about how progressive and like the foresight of creating a cinematic universe before anybody had ever even thought about doing that. Everyone credits Marvel with that revelation, but no. Universal did that in the 30s.
Yeah. No one, but again, it's because people can't fathom anything beyond a certain fucking period. And it seems like the older we get, like the decades get like more and more closer to us, right? Like I hear more when people now like can do shit that's in the 70s because it's too cool. I'm like, oh my god, it's getting just worse. I'm not looking for a day that people can't do shit in the 80s and 90s because it's too corny. I'm gonna be like, fuck me when that happens.
I'll say this: the 80s is corny as shit now, but I fucking love it.
I love the 80s films. But yeah, like no one talks about it because like again, people just can't get past. But yeah, like Universal monsters, like that, there's a reason there's the two different sets, like the one that you got and the one that I got, which the only reason I even got it was because they like Amazon had slashed it down to like $60-$70. And I was like, well, that's not going to stay like that for long. So I jumped on it while I could.
Mine was a gift. Not that I didn't want to own these movies. It just, if it had been up to me, I would have bought the one that you have.
Yeah. But yeah, and the reason it's like that is because all these films got connected to the point that like two of the biggest comedians of that time, Abbott and Costello, did fucking team up films with these guys, with these monsters.
Yeah.
Like that's how big this crossover thing got. So in all honesty, it started here. Like they actually did a shared universe of all these monsters popping up in each other's movies.
I think this is the first franchise ever.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
There is groundwork laid in this film. Like when Dracula isn't transforming into a real wolf, they have a couple of scenes where you hear a wolf in the background. Or they like in the very beginning they mention like, watch out for the wolf sounds at night or whatever. Like they're already laying groundwork of like there's more than just this vampire out there.
I love that they don't show us shit. I love that they're like, look at that, it's a giant wolf, and they show us people looking at the wolf. Like the budget of this thing was so ridiculously cheap. And for that, what they accomplished with like barely $300,000.
Yeah.
Well done.
I love that when they're like, the strangest thing happened. What is it? A big old wolf just ran across the lawn, and fucking Van Helsing, he knows everything.
I love how he's kind of talking down to everybody. Like, you don't even know about vampires. Like,
Yeah.
what do you got to say about anything? Doctor, fuck you. Vampires.
I love how quick he is, how open he is at first. Like, it's clearly a vampire. Like, yes. Sorry, I didn't think of that one, Van Helsing.
Yeah, I love that nobody really gives him a like, are you kidding me? Like, they're just like, but such a creature does not exist in the medical journals. Like, you can tell this was a play.
Oh yeah, it was adapted from a play. Yeah.
Oh boy. So, real quick, Dracula was directed by Todd Browning, who also directed Freaks, a film I've always wanted to see. I've heard that is one of the most just insanely like disturbing and uncomfortable films because of its subject matter and how like it's just so exploitative, and nobody batted an eye in the 30s. But you can't make that movie now. That's for sure.
Yeah, I want to check it out. I know American Horror Story Freak Show is heavily indebted to that movie, that particular season of American Horror Story. But I've been meaning to watch that.
Yeah, that would be. I'd love to do that on the show if we can find it. It's not streaming anymore. I've looked for it.
Oh, I thought it was on HBO Max there for a bit.
Oh well, I guess the search is over. I hope you're right. I would like to watch Freaks.
I don't think Freaks is as hard to find as you're thinking.
The last time I looked for it, I couldn't find it. So maybe it's been a while. To be honest, it's been a minute since I hunted it down. Todd Browning was one of the earliest film directors in Hollywood, with his earliest gig being the 1915 short film, The Lucky Transfer. His first film was in 1915. That's 107 years ago. That blows my mind. That like film seems so recent, but also so far away at the same time. It's this weird turning point in history, I think. Browning died in 1962 at 82 years old following a stroke, and Dracula is the film he's most associated with.
Makes sense. I can see why he's most associated with this one.
Yeah, I was looking through the rest of his filmography. Nothing else really stood out apart from Freaks. And that happens. Not everybody's going to make more than 2 classics.
Yeah. I mean, he has one that's literally stood the test of time. It's getting transferred still into Blu-ray. I think they have a 4K of that, of your set. I believe there's a 4K of that. So, it's still getting widely distributed now. So,
and it did look amazing on Blu-ray. The transfer is gorgeous. I will say that.
Oh yeah, they did a good job.
Bela Lugosi plays Count Dracula, the role he will be associated with till the end of time. He could never get away from that. He reprised the role only one other time in 1948's Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, alongside Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman and Glenn Strange as Frankenstein's monster. How cool it would have been if Karloff had returned for that.
Yeah, I know Karloff was hard to get to come back to that because he really hated the makeup process.
Yeah, could have gotten the big 3. Like, I think, the only time. That would have been amazing. But not to disparage Glenn Strange. He did a good job. That movie's funny as hell. I watch that every Halloween. I love Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
I really need to watch Abbott and Costello too because I haven't seen any of them. And I heard they're pretty funny.
This one is the best one. Frankenstein is their masterpiece. A lot of people don't like Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. I think it's funny as hell. So I recommend that one. And those are the only 2 I've seen. I have not watched the rest of them. But they did like 30 movies. Like, not just all, only the last few were horror meetups.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I only just kind of care about the horror ones they did.
So you don't want to watch Buck Privates Come Home?
Nope.
You like this. The Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, there's a cameo by the Invisible Man, and the Invisible Man is voiced by Vincent Price.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That was neat. Of course, later they made Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, and sadly, it was not Vincent Price, but still.
Yeah, okay. Damn
Uh,
it.
yeah. Lugosi, alongside Chaney and Boris Karloff, is considered one of the all-time cinematic icons of classic horror. Some of his other most well-known films include The Black Cat, Island of Lost Souls, Son of Frankenstein, and his later work with director Ed Wood that included Glenn or Glenda and Plan 9 from Outer Space. Lugosi died in 1956 at 73 years old from a heart attack brought on by a heroin dependency problem. And he was just kind of tossed aside, which is a damn shame. Dracula was a big hit for Universal. He played, Igor in Son of Frankenstein, did some, non-Dracula vampire movies, and then just left. Basically because, I think Universal was looking for a new Lon Chaney. They thought they had it in Lugosi. Turns out it was Karloff, which is I get why, if he did hate him, I get it.
Yeah, it's it's a really tragic kind of story with Lugosi if you look into like his whole like life post Dracula. But as far as the role of Dracula itself, he is still to this day my favorite take on the character. What he did for that role, what he brought to it is just it's iconic. It's become iconic. From the way he walks, the way he moves his hands, to his speech mannerism, like he brought a lot to that character.
I love it. The way he talks is like, this is clearly not a man who interacts with people. Like, he doesn't have conversational skill because he's not a human being. He's a monster that looks like a human being. And there's constantly little, moments in his performance that remind you of that. And to have that awareness in 1931, when film is just figuring itself out, that alone deserves eternal praise.
Yeah. Enough cannot be said on what he did, because at the end of the day, everyone's trying to be Lugosi when they take on Dracula. And if they're not trying to be Lugosi, like I said, the other one would probably be Christopher Lee. But this is OG. This is what people have strived to. And as much as I do think Christopher Lee did a real great job with the role, I don't think anything's ever going to top Lugosi. He brought so much to this role. It's become iconic. People quote the way he talks all the time. You hear people always trying to like match that tone of voice and his delivery all the time when it comes to Dracula. It's just I love seeing him in the role. It's a huge reason I like the movie so much is because of him.
Absolutely. In fact, it's difficult for actors to bring their own take to Dracula because the character is so tied to Lugosi's performance and image. It's crazy. I can't think of any other character that has that kind of like longevity and attachment.
I would say give it a few years and we could potentially see someone like Chucky or Freddy Krueger have that, because we've seen we're like trying to get someone else to play those roles. Fans don't like it already. So I'd say that'd be the closest we get, but obviously we got to wait a couple more decades here for that to see if it holds. But I would say those two have a chance of getting there for sure.
True. Next up, we got Dwight Fry, who plays Renfield, Dracula's servant. Fry played Dr. Frankenstein's assistant, Fritz, in the original Frankenstein, and Carl in Bride of Frankenstein. He died in 1943 at only 44 years old from a heart attack. And he is great in this. Renfield is creepy as hell in this movie.
Yeah, and he's actually just like, well, this is my Dracula. This is my favorite take on Renfield. I think Dwight Fry has done it the best for this character. Jury's out obviously on what Nicholas Holt's bringing next year with that movie. But I think, like you said, he makes this character so creepy. And I mean, this is an actor that did so good as fucking Igor and fucking Frankenstein that that's who they were mocking in fucking Young Frankenstein. Like, that's the performance they were making fun of.
Eyzaguirre. Yeah.
Why not Igor? Because it's Igor.
My grandfather used to work for your grandfather. Of course, the rates have gone up.
What happened to your hump? What hump?
I love Young Frankenstein so much.
What brain did you get? Abby, no more.
Oh, yeah, we did that on the show a long time ago. I would love to just do it again because it was so much fun.
Oh, dude, 10 out of 10 film. Like Young Frankenstein is up there, like that and Blazing Saddles. There we go. Or like my two favorite Mel Brooks films. Like I go back to those all the time.
Well, I love that a lot of people consider Young Frankenstein to be like the one true sequel to Frankenstein, which is just awesome. I'll take that. That's a great double feature.
Could be worse. Could be raining. I quote that so much in life. When I hear someone be like, "Oh God, this is so bad," I'm like, well, it could be worse. It could be raining, guys. And usually I don't get much response to it. I don't get it. But those who have seen the movie, they smile. They get it. They understand.
It has become a reactionary impulse to me. When somebody says werewolf, I instinctively go, "Their wolf, their castle." Beautiful. Oh boy. There's moments in, like, I didn't catch it the first time I was watching this. I think the first time I'd seen this, I hadn't read the book yet. I hadn't seen a lot of Dracula adaptations. I'm still pretty new to, this whole era of film, so I wasn't paying as much attention. This time, there's moments like when they find the crew of the ship dead, and Renfield is just in the below deck, just staring at the cops with this creepy grin. I got chills. Like that was good.
It's a creepy moment. Like like I said, they go for it. Even in this, they don't. There's scenes in later Universal like monster films that really go for it, but like they do it here too, where like they go for it occasionally. And yeah, when you see him in like that scene, like that animalistic, like laughing and whatever noise he's making, it's unnerving.
It's like a laughing sigh. I can't do it. It's creepy as hell.
Yeah, it's very unnerving. His whole character arc is just incredibly unnerving, and the whole like, I just want to please you, master. And I'm like, oh my god.
In terms of favorite Renfield, I gotta say, I don't care that much for Coppola's adaptation, but I do have a soft spot for Tom Waits as Renfield. I did like him. I like Tom Waits a lot. He's just so weird.
Okay.
Helen Chandler plays Mina Harker, Dracula's intended victim. She was also in Goodbye Again, Dance Hall Hostess, Salvation Nell, and other films in a brief 11-year career. She died in 1965 at 59 years old following surgery complications. And I will argue, apart from Dracula and Renfield, the rest of the cast really doesn't pop for me.
I would say apart from those two and Van Helsing, the rest of the cast is good.
Okay, I'll give you Van Helsing. There's something, I like his arrogance. Just like, of course it's vampires, you dumb shit. Why would it be anything else? I wish more in movies where like they're trying to figure out what's going on, like a ghost movie or an alien movie. I wish there were more people who were just confidently like, of course it's a ghost. What else could it be?
Goddamn idiot. At one point, he's just randomly drops, "Don't patronize me." like
I wish in The Conjuring, the Warrens were just like, "Your house is haunted, you idiots." Like, are you even paying attention?
Why are you still living here?
Get out, Jesus. That'll be $300.
Why did it take you so long to leave? Jesus Christ.
I want more. I want an entire subgenre of just angry exorcists. Just like, why do I have to do this? You should have done this. Like, it's obviously your daughter's possessed by a demon. Do you have a Bible? I mean, Jesus Christ. What more do you need? I would watch the shit out of that.
They still help them, but they're really grumpy about it.
Yeah. They're begrudgingly. They're just like kind of mumbling their way through it. Like, she's fine. Mail me the check. Oh boy. Um, Edward Van Sloan plays Van Helsing, the self-proclaimed vampire hunter. Van Sloan also appeared in Frankenstein, The Mummy, and Dracula's Daughter. He died in 1964 at 81 years old from undisclosed reasons. And I love that this guy just kept popping up in these.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say he's necessarily my favorite Van Helsing, but I like him a lot. And I like the take on like, because like nowadays Van Helsing is like, I would say they do like the Hugh Jackman route with that particular movie where he's like this badass that can take anything down. And I like the idea that this guy's a scholar that just really believes in all this shit. and
we need to bring that side of it back. I love that the idea that like Dracula's arch enemy is not this like fallen angel with Hugh Jackman's locks and like weaponry, and he's like kicking Mr. Hyde off of a church. He's just this little old guy with a cane who has done a lot of reading.
Yeah,
I like that,
and gets the upper hand because of his academia smarts.
Dracula has an IMDb score of 7.4, Rotten Tomatoes score of 94%. With a budget of around $300,000, it scored a box office gross of around $700,000, making it Universal's most profitable film of 1931.
Which
God, how standards for success have changed.
Right, especially because in 1931, that was the Great Depression. So for them, that was like I don't know. I would say what equivalent to like $1 billion, maybe close to it. For like,
I don't know if it's that high. Inflation. Let's find out. I'm gonna do all right. Adjusted for.
I'm not gonna look. We both went to the Texas education system. I'm an idiot, so I don't know inflation math.
$1 billion seems high. All right.
I feel like what if I'm on like right on the money? What if I lowballed
it? $300,000 in 1931. Today is about $5 million.
Okay, so then
$700.
I told you, math not strong suit.
This movie made $12 million, so $7 million profit roughly.
I was way high. I was way shooting that one, but still good, still very very good. Especially if you count like what you said. This is 15 years of filmmaking. At this point, film is a very new burgeoning thing. The country is in the very beginnings of the Great Depression. So the fact that they made with all that in the exterior, that is like pretty fucking spectacular for that time.
Again, that is. People wanted to see this. People wanted to, escape their dismal ass lives with Dracula.
Yeah, life's depressing. So let me go watch this vampire movie.
I can't even drink without getting arrested. Let me have my movie. It's all I've got.
The economy's collapsed. There's rumors of a war going on the other side of the country. It's illegal to drink. Let me have my movie. Just let me have it.
Oh boy. So let's discuss some highlights from Dracula. It's a quick film. It's only an hour 15 long. I appreciate that. I love between an hour to an hour 40. That's the sweet spot.
Yes. Well, and that's like the beauty of again, for those who can set aside your living in the now, right, and watch older films. If you're tired of these 2.5 hour epics that we seem to get all the time, watch older films, especially around this era. They almost none of them even hit an hour and a half. They are short fucking movies.
Yeah, that film is expensive.
Yeah.
So we open with a grandiose and creepy score. The only bit of music in the film, really.
Yeah. I do, which is interesting because there's a cut of this you can play, which has I think a 1998 score attached to it that someone did as a retrospective type thing.
Yeah, I remember Philip Glass, the guy who did Candyman.
Yeah. I don't do that. Preferably, it's kind of like the same. It's like when I watched my Raid Blu-ray, right? You can do the audio to what's mixed to Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park had done the score. I'm like, no, just give me the original thing. So I'm a purist in that regard. I'm like, just give me what it was as it came out.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't even watch colorized films. I won't do that either.
Yeah, like it's like, no, just give me how you did it when it was coming out. But what we do get here, I really, really do like. I actually think the score is actually really good. What they do play.
Well, I found this hilarious. It was also used in The Mummy. Same music. And B, this is Swan Lake. It's an excerpt from the ballet Swan Lake because it was public domain, and the budget on this film was tight.
Well, it works for this film.
It does work. It's creepy and it's like ethereal, and you're about to watch a dark fantasy. It's got this vibe, and I like that. I was like, this is cool. And I looked into it like, oh, they stole it from a ballet.
Yeah. Well, it mixes well to me with the productions on this film, because I actually think, along with cinematic universes, this film was like a big beginning to gothic horror, and how like a lot of the set design is made and the architecture of the buildings. There's a lot of gothic horror elements in this movie.
Oh yeah, this is a trailblazer for a lot. I mean, you look at films in the 20s, and a lot of it was just, a solitary camera, people walk in front of it, people, overact with their hands because it was silent film. Only a couple directors were experimenting with camera angles and shadows and production design and really trying to create something. And, F.W. Murnau and Charlie Chaplin are two that come to mind for the silent era. And then you got a guy like Todd Browning, who I'm sure was influenced especially by Murnau's Nosferatu to create a vampire story of his own that's going to stand out. And I love that he went the extra mile on that.
Mm-hmm.
Dracula's intro. Well, before we get to Dracula's intro, I love Renfield's encounters with the townspeople of Transylvania, who are all just like, there's a vampire up there. Like, he's killing people. He'll make you an undead. And he's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah. How open people are, like, dude, you're going to die. And he's like, I'd be like, okay, well, let's take this back a minute. Like, why are we jumping to this?
We have some family in Germany who we knew he was a Romanian guy who, I think, like, how do I explain this? My extended German family's ex-husband. There we go. Fredo. He's a nice guy. Well, and he was Romanian, and he wanted to take us to the original Castle Dracula, like the real one, Vlad the Impaler's castle. And I'm still going to try to make that happen. I want to go there.
That should be haunted as fuck.
Oh, you kidding me? The amount of blood spilled there? Yeah. Holy shit. The amount of horrific death that happened in there. There's no way.
Yeah. Vlad was a cruel human being.
I think he's way more sadistic than the vampire that was based on him.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
I don't think he was arguing that point. Oh, you know what? 2022, someone's going to argue that point. Who am I fucking kidding? if Twitter has taught me anything, people will fucking argue anything to goddamn death.
Yeah, it's a shame. But these townsfolk are like, look, can we invite you to stay another night so you don't have to travel up there in the night because you will die? Like, they're very much like, this is not a maybe. Like, he's going to get you.
Yeah, I love it. They're just like, look, man, if you're going there, you need to do it during the day. It's like, but you want to do it at night, you're fucked.
When they ask, like, where are you going? He's like, Castle Dracula. They're like, up there? Dracula? Castle Dracula? He's a vampire. He's just so matter of fact, like, how don't you know this?
Yeah, we know this. We always get inside before night hits.
I do love later on when the coachman is taking him to meet Dracula's coach, and he just flings his luggage out, flings him out, and then just keeps going.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Also, when he's like looking out the window and be like, driver, and it's just a bat, but no one's driving it. And Renfield just does the most logical thing. He just sits back and on like, oh shit, what do I do now? Like,
well, I mean, to be fair, I don't know what I'd do in that situation. If I'm in a coach, I look out, the driver's not there, and there's a bat leading the horses. Like, Do I jump out? Do I wait to see how this unfolds? Like what happens here? What's the social etiquette for this?
What do I do with my hands?
Dracula's introduction is creepy because it's just a hand coming out of a coffin and then just him standing straight up staring at the camera. I think the lack of score in this film does hold it back at times, but also it really traps you in the movie, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I think this is one of the few times where I get both sides of the argument. Well, obviously, like, score would help make it nice and moody, but at the same time, there's something about not having it that's kind of unsettling. Because at that point, you're really relying on your actors big time to sell this shit.
Oh, yeah. And then when Renfield meets the Count, just straight up, I am Dracula. Just no pleasantries. I love that.
Yeah. And the way, again, man, Lon Chaney, Bela Lugosi's delivery, the way he never, like, the way he finishes sentences, there's always a pause before that last word. But I am Dracula.
It's almost like now you say something. This is how conversation works. He doesn't know.
Yeah. He's trying to put on this like nice, pleasant face, right up front, pleasantries. And I love how open he is about like the shittiness of his castle. Like he's just so open, like foundation's gone, but still a mighty castle.
One of the coolest little moments for me is when he walks through the cobwebs and does not disturb them. That is creepy as hell.
Oh yeah.
And especially when Renfield like slices him up open, you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't an illusion. He walked through that shit like a ghost.
Yeah, it didn't bother him. I love after they have their little meeting with each other, like, and again you can hear a Rolf again in the background, which they make reference to earlier. And I love his comment when you hear the wolves like, "Don't you love the sounds they make at night?"
Yeah, it's become one of the most. It was listed as one of the most iconic film quotes of all time. Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make. It's like, eesh.
Oh, it's like he's already setting off a creepy mood because he doesn't know how to be human. And then I love when Renfield's at his desk and he's screaming like, "Oh no, it's great! I like this desk," and like he actually cuts himself, and that look that Dracula gets instantly.
Hypnotic. It is interesting. The movie doesn't really address why Renfield's there. But if you read the book, it's Harker who's in this position. And he's there basically to draw up like a family tree for Dracula, like so he can establish lineage in Transylvania and then buy property in England. Yeah. And it's so basic. Like even Dracula needs an estate lawyer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 1800s or whatever this, supposed to be taking place, different time.
But this just makes me laugh that he's not trying to take anything. He is trying to like get all of his business arranged legally and then kill a bunch of people.
Yeah. He's done with messing with the people of Transylvania. They know who he is. So now he has to move on to a new stomping ground.
Oh, works out kind of. Later on, when Dracula goes to England, a scene that made me laugh was when he goes to the play, or I think it was the ballet, the stage production, and an usher with a flashlight like checks his ticket and leads him to a seat. Like she's just leading Dracula to his seat. He's like, you got a ticket there, sir. Just
yeah.
made me. I was like, this is a weird situation.
He's on a break, man. He has his nights off.
I wonder, like, what does Dracula do in his spare time? Apparently, he takes in a show.
He likes shows.
Yes, he does. He's a man about town. But yeah, the transformation of Renfield into this like just weird little snake man who's so painfully loyal to Dracula. Just begging him, like, please, can I eat some bugs? And Dracula's like, we'll see.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't know if I can get you bugs, man. You're asking a lot.
Just gives him this look of like, how dare you speak to me? It's great.
Yeah, I love how he gets Renfield, which is like the whole like scares him with the bat, and then like I love how his daughters or whatever are coming in to get him, and he just shoots them away with his hand. Just no, I eat first.
The brides. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love that. Like, he's the alpha. Like, they're animals. That was a nice touch.
Yeah. Like I said, like I know, like obviously Loki's more vicious, but like I like the idea that like in this one he is vicious, but he's trying to mask it by pretending to be this noble person and be like, well, no, I'm above you, so you don't eat yet. I have my blood first, and then you can have some.
In the book, he tries to drive Harker mad first. He's like crawling outside his window, and like Harker sees him, and then he's like, oh shit. And then Dracula will come in the door like, what is wrong? He's like, I thought you, but he's like, what, did you see something? You must be seeing things, Mr. Harker. Like, he really like just tries to drive him completely fucking nuts first. And it's creepy. The way it's written, he's just like looking out the window and he sees just crawling up the fucking wall. Dracula.
God.
This is a good read, man. It's a good read.
In today's world, someone pull out a gun and shoot immediately. Gives you trying to fall. Now that we've taken care of that.
One question I do have. How did Dracula get into Lucy's home? Because isn't he supposed to be invited first?
Well, this movie does not establish that. At any point, remember?
I know, but it should.
But it doesn't.
But it should.
By this movie's logic, he doesn't have to be invited in.
That makes them so much scarier if they could just come get you. The one thing that kept me from being afraid of vampires as a kid was the fact that you got to invite them into your house.
Yeah, just don't invite them in. Just now, granted, the horror is that they can keep fucking with you until you finally break, which is roughly something that was, I believe, explored in Salem's Lot, where they just were terrorizing them until they finally fucking broke.
Yeah, or you do the Fright Night remake way where you just rip out the gas line and blow the place up.
Yeah, you just get rid of the house.
Yeah.
Colin Farrell was very efficient that night.
That's cooking with gas right there, literally. Yeah, so Dracula's in town, starts fucking with the locals, going after the hot ladies, as we all would. He does kill that flower girl, which I thought was unnecessarily violent. Like, she was really nice. She just wanted to give you a flower. Flower for your buttonhole.
You're really offended by this. You stand strong by this.
Not offended. I was just like, she just wanted to give you a flower, man. You've been in town, what, 5 minutes?
She's saying hello, you dick.
You don't even like hide it. You just kill her in the middle of the street and keep walking. You don't dispose of the body, nothing. That was the equivalent of you getting like a gas station Slurpee on your way home. That's not nice.
God.
Yeah, it was just like, you can eat and run, man. Like, damn. So after Mina starts exhibiting weird traits because she gets bit. We never actually see the wound. We're just told she's got 2 dots, like 2 injuries on her neck.
We're told a lot more than what we're shown.
I wonder if you could ever get away with doing a movie like that today. Just tell people, like, can you? Oh my God, you believe that? Look what that is.
I haven't seen it, but I think the closest we got to that was like It Comes at Night, and that pissed so many people off.
Yeah, including me. So yeah, good point. You can't do it. We need to be shown everything.
Yeah.
So they go to Dr. Seward's like, my daughter, what do I do? So they go to talk to Professor Van Helsing.
Yeah. What do we do? Oh, we have a guy in mind. He's all about this life.
I'm just picturing a family friend like lights up a cigarette, like, I got a guy.
He's a bit he's a bit eccentric, but he might have some good ideals here.
Smash cut to vampires.
Some reason I had it being Nicolas Cage being like, it's vampires.
And the doctor just like, excuse me. It's like, are you deaf, man? Vampires. Clearly.
He's looking at the other guy like, you have a guy, huh? Just hear him out.
I wonder if it'd be funny if every single time Van Helsing was wrong. It was never actually vampires. And this one time he's like, oh boy, I've never gotten this far.
I don't know why. For a second there, I was thinking of your Loomis joke when we were watching Halloween. I don't know why.
Well, all great doctors come from, great lineage. Maybe Loomis is like an American version of Van Helsing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. At least in the movies. And what you came up with, he's a sex fiend going after Michael.
This is such a deep inside joke. There's no way anybody listening to this is going to get it.
No,
I don't care.
I don't know why it broke me when you did that. I was dying laughing.
That was a fond memory.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, I like how they go to Van Helsing. Not only is he very upfront, very very upfront, immediately just look, you're dealing with a vampire, right? The signs are clearly there. All right. I don't know what you idiots think you're dealing with. It's a vampire.
Only a woman bitten by a vampire will be slightly more tired and pale.
I love how he academically kind of puts them down, and they just go, "You're right. It must be a vampire." I think at most there's one big line said about "Oh, really? We're going really a vampire?" And he's like, "Why, yes, a vampire." And they're like, "Okay, we have to do what he says. What do we do?" And I'm like, man, you guys really back then just were quick to be like, "Yep, vampire. Let's do it. Let's take care of business."
I think he just wears people down. I mean, if the guy's not going to even consider another possibility, if he's just going to throw out vampire, I mean, I would want to see where it goes. I mean, you've got nothing to lose. The doctors don't know what's wrong with her. So let's see what the kook has to say.
How far do you go with that? Though? What if he's wrong? He's getting ready to stake your daughter, and you're just nope, let's see how this goes.
In the book, there's another character. I don't remember his name, but he's a rich millionaire from Texas who's there to court. I think he's Lucy's husband or somebody, and he's there, and he's kind of like, well, I don't believe this for a second, and ends up being part of the team to go take down the Count. I wish he was there, but one of the ways they try to save Mina in the book or Lucy, one of them is they keep giving them blood transfusions. Not even thinking about it, just Van Helsing does it, then Dr. Seward does it, then Harker does it, then the Texas guy does it. And they're like, it's not taken. So they just keep giving her transfusions. And I'm like, whatever she's got, you are fucking it up way more.
Yeah. I was like, the human body can only take so much blood there, guys.
Yeah. And of course it doesn't work.
I love that the dude from Texas is I tell you what, there ain't no incarnation. It's a vampire.
The Texas stereotype has been around since the beginning.
Yeah. It's just, you listen to me, boys, as he's hiking his fucking buckle up. What we got here is some psychopath, some deviant that we have got to poo-poo first before we do your foolhardy blood transfusions.
Let me see if I can find his name.
He says poo-poo. He doesn't say shoot. He has his 6 shooters on him. In my head, he's a fucking cowboy right now. In my head, it's a fucking full-blown cowboy.
Quincy Morris. That's his name.
In my head, he's a full-blown cowboy.
He's a rich young American from Texas, one of the 3 men who proposed to Lucy. So there's a whole subplot about Lucy courting a bunch of different men, and this rich guy from Texas is one of them.
Well, guess what? This rich guy in Texas is all cowboy regalia. He's doing the whole turn to the thing and spitting into a spittoon that just keeps popping out of nowhere.
They apparently, and I forgot about this, at the end of the book, spoiler alert, but it's been 100 years, so I don't feel bad. Quincy dies fighting Dracula. And Mina and Harker named their kid Quincy after him.
Oh,
because he's like, I'm gonna avenge my girl.
You think he said something like, "Remember the Alamo?" Before you fought the vampire.
He just does like a yeah, like super extended, like 9 E's. Just runs up to Dracula, starts fucking him up, pulls out a lasso, ropes his ass up. That would be amazing. I hope in Renfield, Nick Cage Dracula starts waxing poetic about this crazy Texan who almost killed him. Oh boy.
Oh god damn it. I can't with this. Oh, the yeehaw really broke me. That was oh god.
One of my favorite moments is when Dracula immediately breaks character when Van Helsing pulls out the mirror. He's just like, and smacks that shit like it badmouthed his wife at an award show. Got to stay relevant.
Oh god damn it! No, I like that whole scene. First off, I like how just smug Van Helsing is. Like when Dracula comes in, they're talking, and he's like, immediately like, I must find a mirror to prove my point that I am right. And he does it, and he even gets the guy on. He's like, "Hey man, come on, look real quick. Fucking look at this shit. Look at it."
He is so much more consumed with proving them wrong than he is about outing the monster that will immediately kill everybody who knows he's a vampire. Like he doesn't even give a shit about that. He's like, haha.
I love it. He shows it, and then he like, Count Dracula, can you come here? And I'm like, oh man, what is he doing now? What's the game plan here? What's Mr. Van Helsing got up his sleeve now? And he's just like opens the mirror and like he breaks character and you just see Bela Lugosi slap it out of his fucking hand. And then the smug smile they get on Van Helsing, like a close up of him being like, aha.
Like Dracula should just ripped his head off right there. Like, what has he got to lose? Well, if Dracula tries to save it with like, I'm so sorry I did that. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Yeah, he doesn't even really come up with an excuse. He's like, I am so sorry. I must go get some sleep. And that's when it leads to the whole like, hey, what? You guys see that? My lord, what is it? And Van Helsing, is it a wolf? And I was like, well, yes, it is a wolf. It's like, aha. They can transform into wolves, usually bats, but sometimes to instill fear, they transform into wolves. I'm like, you're just a treasure trove of fucking information right now, buddy.
I'm loving these vague, non-specific traits that Van Helsing is just pulling out of his ass every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Also, Dracula, who's trying to not, further out himself, just decides to wolf out in the yard. Like, you couldn't wait till you're out of view of the terrace.
He got frazzled, dude. He was like Chris Rock. He got frazzled. Didn't know what he was doing.
Would have been hilarious if he smacked the mirror and was like, ah, and immediately turned into a bat and flew out the window. And they're all just like, what was that?
Keep my wife's neck out of your fucking mouth. I would have loved if someone just yelled that.
God damn it. Will, you fucking maniac. Oh boy. So with that, I kind of started to drift after that. The movie just kind of ends. I mean, Dracula gets killed, unceremoniously off screen. We just hear him go, ugh! And that's the movie.
Which is crazy that like back then that was like them pushing it. Like, holy shit, did we just hear a death?
Yeah, that was too much. They were told to cut that.
Yeah. that and Renfield's. Like they were like, you cannot do what you did with Renfield's. That's way too much for an audience to see. I was like, he fell down the stairs and screamed a little bit. Like it's not that bad.
I mean, we got to see a burning windmill fall on Frankenstein's monster. The Invisible Man got to, become visible on his deathbed. Wolfman got beaten to death by his father. Dracula off screen gets an old man puts a stake in his heart and is like, well, that is that who wants tea. It's just over. There's really not an ending here.
Nobody else just that's it. Yeah, well, and I love how there's no tension with it in the sense that Harcourt or Jonathan, whatever, needs to go take care of his wife, and instead of Van Helsing being like, "No, man, you must help me," he's like, "Go, save your beloved. I got this." And then just does it. Dracula doesn't fight. He's just and bap, there we go. All right, I did it. I got him.
Van Helsing is like a high school football captain who 30 years later still thinks he can make the NFL and is constantly like, this is my moment. This is it. This is my moment. It's really funny. Van Helsing in this movie is kind of a crazy man.
Yeah. One could argue maybe Loomis, Mr. Darn Pleasance, got some inspiration in his portrayal of later sequels of Halloween and getting crazy on this.
I'll take it. It.
Michael always goes, "Death that's come to your town. Death." Okay, first off, let's calm it down there, Loomis. Whoa.
Well, if Carpenter's just like, Don, the fuck? I need 40% of that.
You wonder how much of his performance was actually because of John Carpenter being like, "Yo, and you got a 40% for this movie. Do not jump to that level yet." And then the moment he left, because he didn't want to do the sequels and all that stuff that happened, Don Wilson went, "Now I can go the full 80. Now's my time."
He's just in the mirror like, Michael, 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 Michael. And then he goes in. He's got to psych himself up. What the fuck are we even talking about anymore? Oh, man.
Oh,
so, yeah, you can see the influence, huh? Yeah.
I can't. I like we're talking about it. Granted, I also keep going back to your voice that you used for Loomis for that whole scenario impression. There you go.
That was a combination of just the heat getting in my head and just being like, fuck it. let's make this funny.
Let's get nuts.
Good times.
Yeah. I just can you imagine so Van Helsing does this, right? The stories he's going to tell, because we've established that man is smug. He's going to gloat about this for days, for years. Did I ever tell you about the time that I killed Dracula? Yes, man. Oh, let me tell you again.
I feel 9 times out of 10 they'd be like, who's Dracula? He wasn't exactly famous in the movie universe, so he's just like, well, let me tell you a story.
They go in there for something else, and every time you see him, it's an hour and a half story of Dracula and how he slayed the beast.
The Wolfman rolls around. Everyone's like, how do we stop this creature? You see the smoke from a pipe in the distance, and you just hear, I believe I can be of service.
What if
it looks like a wolf? It's probably a vampire. He tries to stake the Wolfman. It rips him the fuck apart.
What if the suit's hiding the most jacked body we've ever seen? It's one of those things that he takes it off. He goes 3 sizes in muscle immediately.
He takes down Frankenstein with a fucking punch to the forehead. Just knocks his ass down.
Oh, I see you've underestimated me again. Ha! Comes like the fucking Rock out of nowhere. Just
This is the Van Helsing Tom Cruise wanted to play. Thankfully, that didn't happen.
thank fucking God. And whatever the fuck that whole Doc Universe thing was.
Ugh, what a waste of time that was.
Yeah.
And money. I can't wait to talk about all that failure on Beyond the Pad one day.
Oh yeah. Oh, that means I gotta sit through that movie again. But yeah, no, I will not take away the fact that like this one has an anticlimactic ending. Because like they don't even do like at the end. And if they do, it's like for a brief second before like it cuts off. And then like if you're watching it like on the Blu-ray, right? It's like it's kind of trying because like it just cuts off and then the whole Dolby thing pops up immediately. The like this moves in with this form of sound and like the Dolby shit pops up and I'm like, oh shit, it's over.
Like, did anybody deal with the brides?
No.
Well, Transylvania is still fucked, aren't they? Yeah. What did you really solve, Van Helsing?
He killed Dracula. That's all that needed to happen.
But as we see in subsequent sequels, he didn't kill shit. Apparently, he doesn't know where the heart is.
Well, that's because again, he has to be like we saw with Loomis. He has to always be there to take him down. Van Helsing is Dracula's Ahab.
Shouldn't that be the other way around?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, they're both crazy. Here are some Filmgazm facts for
I want
Dracula.
Dracula to be his Moby Dick.
Well, Moby Dick and the White Whale are the same thing.
Whatever.
Okay. Metaphors. Filmgazm facts. Number one, a Spanish language version, also called Dracula, was filmed at night on the same set at the same time with Spanish speaking actors. They just, as soon as regular Dracula called cut, Mexican Dracula wandered in and filmed their version of Dracula with the same set. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, so I looked into why they did that because I was curious. And apparently, silent films were easy to distribute to other countries because it was silent, right? But then the studios got into the issue when sound became a thing and sound became normal. So we're like, well, shit, not everyone speaks English, right? Now we have a language barrier. So they would look at viable markets. And at that time, the Spanish speaking marketplace was extremely profitable and viable to use. So they'd film a good chunk of the films with the English actors, everything. And then afterwards, when they were done, the Spanish crews would come in and film the Spanish version. They would distribute that version to that marketplace. So that's why I was curious, and that's why they did it. So
that happened with a lot of films.
Yeah. So it was a weird way to try to get films as out into the world as possible, essentially. Right. It's kind of like your first take of like foreign cinema almost. Like again, right here we when you're right, why I implore people to get past your modern day mindset and watch these films. You're seeing, in a sense, the beginnings of foreign distribution, right? Something that's like huge now. But films from other countries, our films are, films that we watch from our countries are, and those who fucking love their anime, right? The anime that gets fucking imported all the time. So this was really like, I would say the beginning of that. More so than silent film. Obviously, silent film's the beginning, since they were able to just do it freely because silent. There was no sound. It was easy to get shit from Germany into America or from America, vice versa. Minus maybe when World War I was going on, but besides that, right, it was easy. And then now we have sound. We got to figure this shit out. How do we do this?
I think it's pretty neat that we were like Hollywood was even thinking about foreign markets in the 30s. I mean, until you mentioned that it was, a potential profitable area, then I'm like, oh, that's fine. Because most of the time back then it was like they probably didn't give a shit.
No, but it had to be a profitable area, so it wasn't like everyone got it.
Can you imagine if we still did that? If we still did it this way? Like Spider-Man No Way Home is filming, and then like when Tom, Andrew, and Toby are done, Hispanic Spider-Man come in and they film their version. That would kind of be awesome. Every single American movie has a double out there.
Oh my God. Marvel would be having a field day with fucking spoilers.
Oh my God. Yeah, I just feel like a leaked from the set of Mexican Spider-Man is everything. Oh boy. Filmgazm facts. Number 2, Dracula never once blinks his eyes. An effect that enhances the undead character's otherworldly aura, abetted by Bela Lugosi's famous menacing stare. Dracula doesn't blink once in this film.
Yeah, which had to be fucking. I mean, it's fine. People are like, well, that's easy to do, right? Don't blink. I'm like, try looking at someone for minutes on end without blinking. Like, eventually your eyes get tired.
Yeah,
like,
that's an incredible. That level of focus is incredibly admirable to me. I mean, I always think of The Shining, the scene with Jack and Wendy and the bat. Like, yeah, Jack doesn't blink there either.
Oh yeah, I love you. I don't want to hurt you, honey. I just want to bash your fucking brains in.
It's so fucking
Wendy,
wacko.
Darling, love of my life.
Love the enunciation. Light of my life. Just so goddamn. But yeah, it's an incredible trait that an actor has to be able to focus like that. Number 3, this had me rolling. There was no real soundtrack in the film because it was believed that with sound being such a recent innovation in films, the audience would not accept hearing music in a scene if there was no explanation for it being there.
What the fuck?
Unless there is a full piece orchestra in the film at all times, people wouldn't be able to understand why there's music coming out of the screen. How stupid did they think people were?
Really various. They should have kept the Texas character in from the book just to announce the music every time.
He's the only one who can hear the score.
Yeah.
He's like, where's that coming from?
What in tarnation? What in the Sam hell is going on here? I'm hearing music.
Sounds like Swan Lake.
He looks at the camera. Do y'all fine folks hear that?
They're like, what are you doing? I almost said Tex. I'm like, his name's not Tex, it's Quincy. You just want to call him Tex.
I mean, I'm sure he's not as Texan as I'm making it out to be, but because I'm born and raised in that state, I've
read the book, and it's been a few years, and he stood out. So I think, yeah.
I tell you what, Van Helsing, you're telling me that they're a vampire? I'll see what it does with some bullets.
That there vampire is making invisible music. You gotta stop him. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I don't like it.
He's always about to pull out his gun, getting ready to
Oh God. And number 4, the studio did not want the scene where Dracula attacks Renfield to be filmed due to the perceived gay subtext of the situation. A memo was sent to the director stating Dracula is only to attack women.
Oh, yes. Sorry, that's right. 30s America. Ha.
Awfully similar to 2022 Florida.
Oh, I forgot that shit happened today.
Yeah, fuck you so much. Not you, Caleb, them. Just want to make that clear. That'd be a weird transition.
I felt like a figurative Will Smith slapped across my face.
Someone needs to Will Smith slap Florida. Is that a thing now? Will Smith slap.
I mean, that's what I was saying to some of my students today. Again, for anyone who's wondering, I'm instructor for the Navy, so I can say things like that without getting as much trouble. But I'm teaching them something, and like I forgot someone made a joke, and I was like, I'm gonna go over there and Will Smith you here in a second as a joke, which got laughed. So
Jesus Christ. Bye. No more Agent J, no more Captain Hiller, no more Mike Lowry. He's just the psycho who slapped Chris Rock now.
No more Muhammad Ali. Like which is the film I would argue he should have gotten his Oscar for to begin with. But moving on.
So there have been countless versions of Dracula brought to film since Lugosi's version. All of them owe something to his performance. So I figured it'd be kind of fun to just sort of riff about some of our favorites to close this thing out. I want to start with Richard Roxburgh in Van Helsing.
God damn it.
The only Dracula in film, to my knowledge, to straight up emulate Count Dracula. A lot of people hate that movie. I don't, but I do hate him. He is a terrible fucking Dracula. It's so over the top, so ridiculous. But I like that movie. I can't help it.
I know you do. I know how much you like that movie.
It's fun. You got any?
So for me, may not necessarily like a Dracula, but as far as interpretation of vampires throughout cinema, I've always been a big fan of like their take on vampirism in the underworld movies.
Yeah.
With like the whole war between that and the Lycans. I've always enjoyed that. Because yeah, I mean, as far as like favorite Draculas, it still really stands as Bela Lugosi for me. And I am holding out hope that Will Smith, Jesus Christ, I'm stuck on that. That Nicolas Cage is going to be in my top 5, probably my second or third favorite when that film comes out next year.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. He's on a very exciting career rebound right now, and I am loving every second of it.
Did you see that someone, real quick before we get back into it, that someone tweeted like, I saw it, someone tweeted like, we don't need the academies to give Cage an award for Pig. We know he's been winning anyway, and he is the best actor of all in this generation. I'm like, there you go. Fuck yeah. So there you go. Academies don't need Cage. The fans got his back. He is the best goddamn actor, and apparently a class act that defends the Marvel movies. So fuck yeah. And his VOD films. Not many actors would do that. So big respect for that.
I do love that. I also find it ironic that he did win an Oscar. Like, he does have one.
He does have one.
But I get your point.
Yeah. I'm saying he should have definitely been nominated for Pig. It's big snub. But
yeah, he should have been. He should have won for Pig, I think. That was maybe the strongest performance by a lead actor of the year.
Yeah, that was clearly channeling stuff going on in his own life and career.
I love that he's managed to take that and use it. I admire that. He's managed to turn his doubts about his career, his slump, into fuel for these performances in films like Mandy and Pig and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Like, that is cool. So, well, way to go.
Yeah.
Way to turn that mush into muscles.
We love you, Nick Cage.
Yes, we do.
Don't leave us too soon.
Oh no, he's gonna be around forever. I'm like 80% sure Nicolas Cage died in like 2008, and this is a robot. Like, if that was announced, would you be surprised?
No. Be like, that makes sense. That's tracking with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, of course. Robot, alien, weirdly misshapen clone, one of them. Oh boy. But yeah, the Underworld movies. When I was looking up movie Draculas, Underworld 2 kept coming up, I guess, because the character of Marcus, being the first vampire, I'm sure was kind of, and like a medieval warrior. There was definitely some inspiration from Vlad the Impaler there.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that. I thought that one was cool. I don't like all the Underworld movies. 2 though has such a cool story that it's hard to not like that one.
Yeah, 2 is really good. And it's, I think, the only one that actually, like, it's literally the only sequel that had the best continuing from the last one than any of the other sequels did after that. Yeah.
Dominic Purcell, Blade Trinity.
I am so mixed on that portrayal. Like, there are points I do like it. Like, I like how Dominic Purcell is like really like vicious, and I love like when they are like so happy to bring him back and he slaughters the team. Like, yeah, of course, what was he going to do? He's fucking Dracula and he's goddamn hungry. At the same time, not my all-time favorite, and has a lot to do with the fact that the movie's okay at best.
I just think Blade versus Dracula should have been a bigger affair. That movie seems muted as hell, probably because Wesley Snipes is barely in it. It's mostly his stand-in.
Mostly Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel, who felt uncomfortable due to a sex scene that Wesley Snipes was adamant about having, and luckily got told no.
That wouldn't make any fucking sense with the tone of that film. There's not a romantic connection between the two of them at all.
It literally came off like he just wanted to fuck Jessica Biel, or at least, pretend fuck Jessica Biel.
You know what's weird? There was supposed to be a sex scene between Blade and the vampire girl in Blade 2 that also didn't happen.
He really wanted a sex scene.
I think he really did.
And they're like, no, Wesley, no.
But Purcell's Dracula has elements that I like. His design, with the red, like his true form, is pretty freaky, pretty cool. I like his like warrior armor. That like all the Dracula shit we've been fed is like hiding the true myth. And there's something in his eyes, this like fury that I really liked. And the scene where he like goes to the vampire store and fucks the place up, I always like that.
Yeah. Like, so those elements, I like how, like I said, like they kind of subvert by having like the vampires be like, oh my God, we have it. The original vampire, we did it. We brought him back. And he just looks at him like, I could give two shits less about you because I am the vampire. Yeah. Fuck off.
Like, this is not my fight. I want to go back to bed, but I'm here. Might as well fuck shit up.
Yeah. You woke me up. I'm pissed now. What's going on?
Yeah. He does have that great line where I think he quotes Alexander the Great or somebody, kill one man, you're a murderer, kill a million, a king, kill them all, a god. Like,
oh yeah,
some pretty cool shit for Dracula to say.
It is. And he does almost kill a baby.
Yeah, he does. And he can walk around in daylight. I think the only Dracula who can do that.
Yeah, which they never really, I can't remember if the movie really explains why he can do that.
I don't know. Just because he's the first, he has like special powers.
Yeah, it's not fully explained. But I mean, this is also like, that was also a film series that established that as long as they put on sunscreen, they can walk around.
That bugged me so hard.
Yeah. It's like, don't get me wrong, like, look, I love the first two Blade movies especially, but like that is something that every time I watch, I'm like, that's not how sunscreen works.
I love that the only thing Blade had to do to kill Frost in the first one is just keep him talking while the sunscreen wears off.
Yeah.
But he warns him, he's like, hey, your mascara's running. Like, dude, shut the fuck up and just wait. Anyway, Blade, love Blade. Here's another good shout out of Dracula's. Duncan Rager, The Monster Squad.
That is a really good portrayal, but especially because, like, they couldn't use the Universal likenesses to a T, obviously. So they got like the as close as they got, and yeah. But I love Monster Squad. Monster Squad is such a great fucking movie.
I love it so much. It's fucking horror Goonies. It's the best. I love the Monster Squad. I love that it is kind of like, it's like a store-bought Dracula costume. It's a Wolfman. It's a swamp creature thing. It's a mummy. It's just, I love that.
It's a Frankenstein.
And it's Tom Noonan as Frankenstein who like joins their team. I love that.
Yeah. And obviously the immortal line, whoa, Wolfman's got nards.
I rented that movie at Blockbuster when I was a kid on tape. I was like, this is so cool. I would rent that and Harry and the Hendersons every time I went to Hollywood Video.
Jesus Christ.
I love those movies, and I couldn't buy them myself because couldn't find them anywhere. So when they came out on DVD, I bought them both immediately.
Nice. I will say, if it wasn't for that third fucking episode of the Dracula show, I think it's Clace Bang. I don't know how to say his first name. He fucking nailed it as far as like still obviously being somewhat like of that, having that handsome or that, that appeal, right? But just being downright ruthless in that show. And like at one point, just straight up telling Renfield, I'm Dracula, I'm going to keep you here and turn into a fucking vampire. What about it? Like, very upfront about it, like doesn't give a fuck. Like, no, I'm going to fucking keep you here. You're in my castle. You made a wrong move. like I said, at one point, like going up to the nuns as a wolf and busting out of for his transformation, busting out of it, butt naked, just standing there being like, "Are you guys going to let me in?" Like, just mind fucking them immediately.
That I gotta check this show out. And this is gonna be, it's not exactly Dracula, but to me, it's pretty close. Chris Sarandon, Fright Night. One could argue that Jerry Dandridge is Dracula who decided to adapt to the 80s and change his name to something more American.
And learn people skills.
Yeah, somewhat. He's got such a Dracula vibe. The seduction, his like cape-like jacket, the claws. He's Dracula of the 80s.
Yeah, and I mean he is sophisticated because he does give Charlie a chance where he's like, look, man, you saw what you saw, but if you let it go, I will leave you alone. I will do nothing.
Like this is a Dracula, I imagine, killed Van Helsing pretty goddamn quick, and then went to America.
Yeah, he killed the old man. He's like, okay, I'm not playing this game. You're old. I got this.
Yeah, I love watching that movie with the mindset that Jerry is Dracula. Like I already love that to death, but that idea amplifies it.
Yeah, I do really love, like, if you take into account, like, this movie would not have happened had Charlie just left him alone. Like, had he just followed through when Sarandon was like, look, man, you saw what you saw. I'll give you a way out right now. You say nothing. I'll leave you alone.
Yeah. The big lesson of Fright Night is don't peep.
Yeah. And if they give you the out, just fucking take it. Just take it. You had the chance because you saw it as soon as he said no. He's like, all right, now I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to go after you.
I've never even met my neighbors, let alone know any element of their life. But Charlie just couldn't keep to himself. He couldn't just stop looking in the window. He couldn't stop watching them carry a coffin into the basement. He had to just he was nosy. And that's what you get.
It's amazing in a lot of horror films like that and Disturbia and Rear Window where you're like, just stop looking out your fucking window.
Keep to yourself and you won't see something you're not supposed to see.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
During the day in my apartment, I'll open the blinds to let sunlight in. Am I looking out that window like all day, seeing like no, I'm looking at my TV usually or preoccupied with something that I'm doing in my apartment.
Especially, Charlie, when your girlfriend's trying to bang you. You idiot. Anyway, that's my bit on Fright Night.
Yeah, I forgot about that. She's like trying to bang him. Like, dude, have sex and then maybe look after. Get off first.
Get off first, then stare at the neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing a to-do list. Get off, stare at the neighbor. All right, time for bed.
All right. And now I'm going to bed. I'm satisfied.
Oh, well, this was fun. Any more Draculas you'd like to spotlight? Or I think we covered quite a few.
Not off the top of my head. I just always go back to Bela Lugosi anyway. As much as I love other portrayals of Dracula, whatever vampires we get, right? I always go back to this. Oh, the 30 Days a Night vampires. I'm a big fan of those vampires.
I get it. They're vicious. I like a little bit more character in my vampires.
What do you want? First you want vicious, now you want character. What do you want, man?
I want a vicious character. I thought that was clear. I want a vampire with some substance who will also rip you the fuck apart.
They talked. Granted, it was like some weird vampire speak, but they talked.
The one vampire I really want to see done correctly in film is Kurt Barlow from Salem's Lot.
Well, hopefully we just gotta wait for the trailer to come out this year, or the movie if they want to be real coy and not put him in the trailer. Who may or may not be being played by William Sadler because he's the only role they haven't fucking confirmed what he's playing.
He's Barlow. Come on.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like literally everyone else they've been like, so they're playing this role and they're playing this role, and then him they're like, he's an undisclosed role. I'm like, so he's Barlow. I was like, you've literally told me who everyone else is playing but him. He's an established older actor. There's no fucking way he's Barlow.
He's a King legacy actor. He's played multiple roles in his films. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, we could be way off, but I'm like, it's not point in you being Barlow, which I'm totally down for.
I don't usually do this. I don't like to plug my own work, but this seems like a perfect opportunity to reveal the fact that I wrote 3 vampire novels of my own. Vampire westerns that drew elements from some of the more talkative vampires in fiction. And I do have a character named Abraham who got in a bit of a tussle with a count in Transylvania. So, yeah. It's pretty badass. Buy my books. Search my name on Amazon. You can get them for $10 a pop.
Now that you've given yourself a nice little jerk-off moment.
Shameless plug. Yeah, we in like almost 200 episodes. I've never done this. I think I'm owed one. I think I get one.
What, are you empowered by the Oscars?
I'm very empowered. Apparently, as we learned, you can get away with anything as long as you're an artist. So,
as long as you're an artist and you make a really interesting speech afterwards, it's all good.
Yeah, I'm working on that part. But yeah, check them out. Vampires, Old West, fun stuff. A lot of nods to vampire movies I like. First one's called Consequence. Second one's called Devil's Blood. Third one's called Meadowsweet. Available on Amazon. All right. I give Dracula a 7. I don't think it's terrible. I just think it's a little dull, and I don't like the abrupt ending.
We'll give it an 8. I really like a lot of what this film started. I see where you're coming from with it. Like I said, it's a weird structure that's very noticeable. Where like there's the first part in Transylvania, and then the boat, and then London, which is like literally the last hour of the film. So it's like the longest part of the film too. And yeah, the ending very abrupt. Usually there's like a big, especially in horror films, they have like a big like musical score, and they'll say the end, and you're very aware it's the ending. And this one, I don't think they do any of that. It's just like it ends.
Yeah, Dracula gets killed over there. You just trust Van Helsing put the stake in the right place. Nobody checks that shit. And then they just go.
Well, I mean, yeah, Van Helsing's a master vampire hunter.
According to Van Helsing.
It's like Loomis is a master Michael Myers hunter. Like it's all the credit they need.
What Loomis is a terrible psychiatrist who believes that this patient is pure evil, and I bet Loomis is responsible for that. Anyway, Halloween.
Oh, I know. I remember the joke.
Thanks for listening, everybody. This turned out to be a fucking great episode. If you like what we do, feel free to follow us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Filmgazm Productions. You can always suggest films for us to check out. Throw us an email at filmgazm@gmail.com. Send us some feedback. We love that. You can always look at the website, filmgazm.com, where we have reviews and articles and trailers and every episode of our shows. If you want to support the show, you can click on support this podcast on your podcast provider. We appreciate anything. Hope you enjoyed this one. I certainly did. This turned out to be a fun episode. I was kind of dreading, like, how am I going to stretch Dracula into an hour? And we went pretty long. Next week, the cycle continues with Austin's pick. I think this is going to be our first biopic on a proper Filmgazm episode. We did a couple when we were doing bonuses and trying to cover basically what the sneak preview does now. But officially, in the Filmgazm canon, I don't think we've done any biopics. During the Great Depression, when prohibition was the law of the land, one Virginia family keeps their community spirits up by bootlegging illegal booze. Pretty soon, the Bondurant family finds themselves under fire from a crooked special deputy and other authorities angling for their end in the super underrated 2012 crime drama Lawless, starring Tom Hardy, Shia LaBeouf, Jessica Chastain, Guy Pearce, Jason Clarke, and Gary Oldman, among others. Hell of a fun movie with a loaded cast. I can't wait.
Yeah, I remember really liking this film. Before his like personal life got, I would say, even more fucking publicized than it was at the time. this is one of the films where I would tell people like, no, Shia LaBeouf can't act. You got to watch Lawless. Like he is fucking phenomenal in this movie. The specific scene I always go to when he's like in the shit beat at him by Guy Pearce's character, and the acting in that scene is fucking superb from him. Like with him trying to be like, stop fucking hitting me with your gun, like Jesus. It's very, very good film. Tom Hardy's a fucking beast in it, as playing a character that makes me go like, yeah, that is a character that Tom Hardy would play. It makes fucking sense.
Well, I love that he did this immediately after The Dark Knight Rises, so he's still got what I call the Bane bulk. So he's just fucking huge.
Yeah, and sometimes it looks like he's just tired of the Bane bulk. Like, yeah, it seems like he's sitting down where you're like, you can tell he's like tired. He's trying to lose it. Like
he's walking around like a fucking silverback, just loaded with muscle. But yeah, it's been a long time since I sat down and watched Lawless. I'm glad Austin picked this. I'm excited to watch it again. Don't miss Star Wars: The Clone Wars on Fridays Beyond the Bad, Jaws on Oscar Sunday, and Marvel and Sony's Morbius on Monday's sneak preview. Until then, don't go into any creepy castles in Transylvania and keep watching movies.